now that because I've met I was seeing this guy who just doesn't listen to music.
Mm.
And I'm like, how is this possible? And like no music at all.
Mm-hmm.
And no knowledge of music.
Mm.
And I don't think it was ever gonna be serious, but I wonder like how much are you willing to continue a story or like a relationship with someone who doesn't share at least some interest, or
Yeah.
like I really like dating guys who are into their types of music because then I discover new stuff.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, like to be with someone as just like no music in your life, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like we're not compatible at all, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've met someone briefly like this as well, but like, yeah, you have to wonder. But what? Well, let me ask you this: when he wanted to fulfill a task or something, he would just do it in silence, like, or if he had to clean, he wouldn't turn on music, or if like when he got in the car, what was he doing? Like listening to talk
We
radio?
spent we were just lovers. We spent very little
Mm.
time together, but like even just making love was silent. You know,
Yeah. So
I mean, in the sense that like like making love to music is
yeah,
freaking awesome,
of
right?
course.
And so there was none of that, and no, I guess there was no music, or maybe yeah, I've never seen him listening to music.
Wow.
And then I don't know, I mentioned uh oh, he said, well, when I was living in Berlin, I guess there's so much electronic music, I
Mm.
did listen to some of that. I was like, oh,
Mm.
what kind? And
Mm.
he said, oh, I didn't even know there were different types.
Oh
You know?
yeah. What are you
To
doing
me,
hanging out
it's
with
like,
this dude?
no, but I mean, I had very low expectations. This was mainly for sex,
Okay.
but it. I was like, oh my god, there's people like that on
Yeah.
Earth. You
Yeah.
know, they
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. This is weird. I don't want to say weird. Peculiar. It's
yeah,
interesting. It's interesting to yeah. Because usually like music is tied to like events in your life
exactly.
and um and I actually even have songs that I don't play normally because I save them for when the times when I feel like I'm going to need them, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's I don't know, like I wonder what it is that he does, like is there something else that he feels like passionate about or whatever, like or do you did you explore any of this?
Yeah, no, I asked him. He seemed to be a workaholic and
Mm-hmm.
obsessed about work,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked him how he practiced self-care, for
Mm-hmm.
instance. And he had no answer other than he practices sports
Mm-hmm.
in a while.
Yeah,
But
okay, so even when he was playing sports he didn't like play like something to get hyped and nothing like that?
no,
What? Wow.
I know.
This
Like,
is
yeah, like I lost my earphones and like the ones that I use for sports, and now I'm like all sad at
yeah.
because I'm like, oh, but there was this thing like I listen to soca music when I run
Mm-hmm.
because it's so cool and like it makes me want to move, um and then there's I have to run on the treadmill without music. It's
Okay.
so
Yeah. Wow.
interesting.
Man, I would be really interested. I actually would now like to talk to someone who doesn't really, because I mean it's not like they don't listen to music, they just don't have any connection to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's people who I know. There's this woman that we share the co-working space,
Mm-hmm.
and she just listens to whatever is on the radio, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then there's a lot of people like that. They'll just turn up some mainstream radio, and that's their music, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no desire or effort to explore
Mm-hmm.
anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that also I don't understand
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, there's so many different styles, and I don't know.
Well,
Um,
I mean, this part I can kind of understand. It's because I I have certain songs, right, that I would have never listened to actively on my own. But if I hear a song that was on the radio at the time I was like seeing someone,
mhm,
then that song becomes attached to the memory of that person, even though it's not like a song that I would like choose to listen to. You know, it's just, and so I mean, I don't know. It's just a really interesting phenomenon that like, you know, in the moment I can see not exploring in a certain way. Like you just go on your daily task or whatever, and you just start playing music, and then you're building memories off of this music that's just playing in the background, right? But
mhm,
then in the future, it becomes music of your past. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So in that sense, I can understand this. You know, like when I grew up, I was listening to hip hop. You know, as a kid, there wasn't really so much before it that, you know. I mean, I guess I was like seeking out music, but the genre was developing so fast, and things were changing, and people were doing different styles of stuff that it's not like you were necessarily having to seek things out because it was all just new. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and in that sense, I can kind of understand someone who just listens to the radio. I can get that, but when there's no attachment to it, like even I mean, at a once you get to a certain age, you would think that there would be something that you're like, you know, like Anthrax when I was a teenager, you know what I mean? And the dude I used to get bullied in the cafeteria, and I
Yeah,
would,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you have something, yeah. So it's just it's I'd be curious to know what else there is, because there has to be something. I don't know. Maybe there doesn't have to be something, but something that fills that place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't.
But but then you choose. I mean, I don't know. My experience, you know, I think I grew up at a shit time for music
Mm,
because it was the end of an era of rock and roll, and music was turning into like really shitty stuff. But then, like, I was obsessed, and like for months at one point, I don't know, I was like 13 or 14. I constantly like explored all the FM waves of the radio to
mm-hmm,
find new stuff.
mm-hmm,
And my like salvation was that we I was living not so far from Paris, and there was a Paris-based radio that played cooler stuff.
mm-hmm,
So I think it also depends like at what. So but like my bigger sister, for instance, so she's three years older, and so she still got a little bit of that golden age of rock. Like she was from the Nirvana era,
mm-hmm,
the first records of Radiohead,
mm-hmm,
stuff like that. And so that was her stuff. So she had like she grew up in that time where like the ambient sound was pretty good.
mm-hmm.
It was after that, and like the ambient sound, like the music on the radio was just shit, and I
Mm-hmm.
had to actively look for better stuff.
Interesting. Interesting. I won't ask you what you thought was the shit music that you heard at this time, because then maybe we won't be friends anymore.